I'm in the big leagues, told him don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding a road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now. So I need that go, y'all. Got hits when he throwing the fastball. Just too quick for it, peeling off like the whip orange. Seen they effort this piss.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Another Turnover, the basketball podcast where a basketball fan with zero basketball credibility gives his opinions on what's going on in the NBA. Opinions that nobody asked for. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Chris Aaron Murphy, aka Ron. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump right into it. Folks, we are in the conference finals. Like, what a ride it's been so far. First round, second round, now we are in the third round of the respective conferences before we get to the actual finals. We are down to the final four teams. So, your NBA champion will end up being one of the following four teams: the Golden State Warriors, the Dallas Mavericks, the Miami Heat, or the Boston Celtics. One of those teams will be your NBA champion. And I'm excited because, I don't really have a dog in the race. Well, other than Boston, because they are my second favorite team, my favorite Eastern Conference team. But, everybody knows, I'm a Spurs fan, diehard. So, Spurs in it, so I'm like, whatever. But I'm excited. Any one of these teams could win it, and it should make for a really, really good and compelling conference finals. So let's start in the Eastern Conference. Let's take a look at the series. So now I do want to put this disclaimer out. You're listening to this on Friday. This show was recorded before the end of before game 2 of the Miami-Boston series. So the series will either be 1-1 or 2-0 by the time you're listening to this. But as of right now, the series is 1-0 with Miami taking the first game in Miami. So this was a rematch, if you remember, of the 2020 playoffs, aka the bubble playoffs. Miami won that series in 6 games in 2020, and most of the core for both of those teams are still there, which is actually pretty cool. So Miami still has Jimmy Butler, still has Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo as, their big three of their team. You got Coach Spoelstra, who's been there since, way back the LeBron era, the Heatles. So he's been there for a while. An amazing coach, by the way. One of my favorite coaches in the league. But then you got newer additions like Kyle Lowry. You have PJ Tucker, who just won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks last season. And then Victor Oladipo. So new additions to the Miami Heat. Boston, you have pretty much the same core as well. You still have Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart still on the team. You have both Grant Williams and Robert Williams still on the team from that 2020 run. And then Al Horford, who used to be on the team before 2020 but is now back. Peyton Pritchard, one of my favorite players to watch. Peyton Pritchard, I love his game. And Derek White, shout out to Derek White, former San Antonio Spur. So you got some new additions on both teams, but mostly the same core is intact. Now, for this game 1, a quick and brief recap. The Celtics pretty much led most of the first half. Were fair. I wouldn't necessarily say dominant. Dominant is probably too strong of a word. But they did get up by 13 points at one point, and it looked like it was going to be more. But Jayson Tatum was balling out. Jaylen Brown was playing pretty well too. And this was without them having Marcus Smart and Al Horford on the floor. Marcus Smart dealing with an injury. I don't know if he's going to be back for tonight's game 2. Yesterday's game 2 when you're listening to this. I know Al Horford did announce he was out for COVID protocol. I believe he's out of COVID protocol, and he's going to play in game 2, which is tonight. You're listening to this Friday yesterday. So they were up 8 at the half. The Celtics were up 8 at the half, and I'm thinking, hey, they're good. Okay, they, got some things that they, can tweak. Miami's probably going to make a run in the second half. It'll probably end up being a close game. No, not at all. It's not what happened. The Heat went on a 22-2 run in the third quarter. 22-2, outscoring them 20 points during that run. That's insane. That third quarter, the Miami Heat outscored them 39-14. 14 points in the third quarter. One of the best offenses in the entire league. And you only put up 14 points. Oh man, how do I want to put this? That was pretty incredible how fast the pendulum swung in that third quarter. I was like, did the Monstars like go in the locker room for the Celtics and steal their talent? Because like, I don't know what I'm seeing here. Like, this is not the same team that I'm used to. Like, Jayson Tatum had like 6 turnovers in the third quarter alone. Like, and he's not necessarily turnover prone. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But I mean, credit to the Miami Heat. They played really well. I mean, Jimmy Butler he was Jimmy Buckets. He was the epitome of Jimmy Buckets. Some people call him that. 41 points was his stat line, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, going 12 of 19 from the field. I mean, he was looking like prime D-Wade out there, like 2006 D-Wade. I was like, what the heck is going on? So, incredible second half performance for them. So, like I said, the Miami Heat winning game 1. By the time you're listening to this, series will be 1-1 or 2-0. Now, obviously, both teams, they're jockeying for one spot, in the finals. Both teams want to be in the finals, obviously. But in terms of legacy, I want to pose a question. In terms of legacy, who really needs this more in terms of Jayson Tatum or Jimmy Butler? I kind of had that question. I think I might have saw it somewhere if I'm not mistaken, so I don't want to take away credit from anyone. But I was like, ooh, that's a pretty interesting question. If you look at the Tatum side, I mean, he's been in the playoffs every year. He's been in the league. He came in that 17-18 season. Eastern Conference Finals for 3 out of the last 5 years. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, they lost in 7 games to the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers, the LeBron-led team. Like I just mentioned earlier in the show, they lost in 2020 to the Miami Heat in 6 games, and now they're playing the Miami Heat again here for this Eastern Conference Finals. So Tatum's ranking in the league, I feel like kind of goes up and down. Like it kind of teeter-totters, is how you say that? Like some people feel like, at some moments he's top 10. Some people even give him top 5. And so the narrative could be out there, like with how good he is, that he can't necessarily lead his team all the way. But then again, he's young. He's only 24 years old, like crazy young. So I mean, like he's got a long, hopefully, Lord willing, a very long career ahead of him. Super young, super talented, hasn't even really reached the prime years of his NBA career. So that's the Jayson Tatum side. Like that's his legacy, quote unquote, at stake. Now, Jimmy Butler is a different story. Jimmy Butler is a bit older than Jayson Tatum, 32 years old. He'll be 33 in September. His whole thing is, can he be a number 1 option on a championship team? Now, they were close, obviously, in 2020. Made it all the way to the NBA Finals in the bubble. Some people put an asterisk by the bubble. I personally don't, but that's a story for another day. They lost that 2020 NBA Finals, obviously, to the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games. Dealt with, some injuries. Bam Adebayo was hurt. Goran Dragic, their starting point guard, was hurt. And Jimmy Butler kind of hit a wall, he had that, I can't remember that really impressive game. I can't remember what number it was. But, yeah, he kind of hit a wall. And he's like, oh, man, I can't do anymore. Like, by game 6, he was pretty much shot. But at 32 years old in the NBA, you're coming up on the tail end of your prime. But is Jimmy Butler better suited as a second option on a really good team? Is he better as a complementary star? Like, those have been some of the, the narratives and things that have been said about Jimmy Butler. And I understand why at the end of the day. Like, he in my eyes has always been, I like to rank players as 1 through 5, like 5 stars. Like 5 being MVP caliber, 4 being all-star, 3 being like, you could say bubble-ish star, 2 being a solid role player, and 1 being, like, you don't basically play. And I've always felt like Jimmy Butler was like between a 3.5 and a 4. Like, all-star caliber, but not quite MVP caliber. That's kind of how I've always seen him. So, to answer the question, though, who needs this more for their legacy, either Jayson Tatum or Jimmy Butler? I would say it's Jimmy Butler. I would say he needs this more, mostly due to his age and his style of play. Jimmy Butler's a very physical player, always been seen as a two-way wing, playing both sides of the floor. I mean, Tatum's going to keep getting better. I mean, he's only 24 years old, not even in the prime of his, career yet, like I just mentioned. And they've got a great core. Like, they've got a solid core that hopefully they keep together, Tatum, Brown, and Smart. If they keep them together, they should be contending for quite some time. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to win a championship with the core that they have intact, and that's Boston. But I think Jimmy Butler, for the sake of his legacy, needs this one more. With the teams that he's bounced around, like, left Chicago, left Minnesota, wasn't really wanted in Philly, and now Miami. Like, he fits that Miami culture well. So, I mean, I would say for his legacy's sake, he needs this one more. But that's my opinion. You may disagree. Let's go ahead and transition, though. Let's take a look at the Western Conference Series, the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. So, Game 2 is today when you're listening to this, so Friday. It'll be Friday evening. But Game 1 was won by the Golden State Warriors in Chase Center. They are now up 1-0. Now, this series has all of the ingredients to be incredibly entertaining and incredibly chippy. I could see it going very similarly to how the Memphis Grizzlies series went with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, you've got on one side the hungry young guns in Dallas, with a leader that has MVP level talent like Luka Doncic is. Luka Doncic is arguably my favorite player to watch. Maybe second favorite player. I would say Jokic is my number one, but Luka is definitely top 3. I would say for my favorite players to watch. But then on the other side, you have that well-oiled machine that is the Golden State Warriors. I mean, with their core, Steph, Clay, and Draymond, I know they dealt with injuries over the past couple of years, but they've been to 5 of the last 8 conference finals in the West. Impressive, winning 3 championships during that span. Now, in terms of the game itself, Game 1 wasn't really close at all for majority of the game. I mean, Dallas tried to make runs here and there, but Golden State was pretty much up the entire game. I will give them credit, Golden State that is. They had a game plan, and they executed that game plan very well, especially on the defensive end, especially with Andrew Wiggins as well. He was tasked with the Luka assignment, so being Luka's primary defender, and he did a whole lot better than I expected. He definitely gave Luka Doncic some problems. He bothered him by, playing really close and playing really physical with him. Andrew Wiggins is super long and super athletic, and he was a tough matchup, able to kind of stay in front of him, when they weren't sending, picks. But kudos to the entire Warriors defense as well. The help defense that they played, Steph, Clay, Otto Porter, Kevon Looney, all of them played pretty solid defense against Luka Doncic when they sent over the screens and, he got switched. Because, even when Kevon Looney, was guarding Luka Doncic, I was like, dang, he's moving his feet better than I expected for a big man. So definitely shout out to the Golden State Warriors defense. That pretty much won them that game. But, don't sleep on the offensive side. Obviously we know, Golden State over the years to be an offensive juggernaut. And they had so much firepower, which ultimately was also their downfall, the firepower on one end and the incredible defense on the other end. Steph Curry, 21 points. Andrew Wiggins, 19 points. You had Klay Thompson who put in 15 points. Jordan Poole put in 19 points off the bench, which I love Jordan Poole's game. You had Kevon Looney, Otto Porter Jr., and Draymond Green each scoring 10 points each, and Draymond Green also putting in 9 rebounds. So even though Game 1 went this way, incredible performance by the Warriors, even though Game 1 went this way, don't think for a second, at least in my opinion, Dallas is out of this series. Obviously, it's one game. By the end of Game 4, I would not be shocked if this series is 2-2. I would not be shocked at all. Obviously, Golden State is not Phoenix, so they're not going to make the same mistakes that Phoenix did. Because Phoenix was up 2-0, remember, and ended up losing that series in 7. But I could see this being a lot closer series than people are expecting. Because I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. And I know a lot of people are. When you go on TV, it's like, oh yeah, the series is over. Golden State in 4, Golden State in 5. I'm like, hold on now. I think what we've seen so far from the Golden Mavericks, from the Dallas Mavericks, I could see them making this a series, a lot closer series than people are expecting. But we shall see. I do believe, though, that with Golden State's defense and their offensive weapons, they will be too much for Dallas to overcome. I never gave my predictions for the Miami-Boston series, did I? Speaking of which, I've got Boston in 7. So, by the way, just putting that out there. But with the Golden State series, with their defense and their offensive weapons, I think they're going to be too much for Dallas to overcome. Luka could potentially score 40, 50 points, and they still lose. Like, I could see that happening in this series. So I'm going with Golden State in 6. Sorry to the Dallas Mavericks fans. Actually, I'm not really sorry, because you're a rival of the Spurs. So, like, whenever Dallas loses, I'm cool. But, like, I have a hard time not rooting for Luka Doncic, though. Like, it's my guy. But if Golden State does advance, a question I want to propose that made me think as I was putting the show together. If Golden State advances to the finals, again, does Steph Curry need one more chip and a finals MVP to solidify him as a top 10 player all time in the NBA? And I was like, that's a pretty good question. Like, is Steph Curry, does he need a finals MVP and another chip to be considered top 10 all time? Because what are some of the things that people say about Steph Curry? The greatest shooter that we've ever seen in the NBA, the greatest three-point shooter, obviously, that we've ever seen in the NBA, but he doesn't have a finals MVP. So that's always been his thing. He doesn't have a finals MVP. I mean, let's take a look, like really quick, briefly, let's take a look at some of the accolades of Steph Curry's career, because I want you to think about these before I answer that question, whether, him winning another chip and a finals MVP will make him top 10 all time. If you look at his NBA records, I mean, most three-pointers made in a season with 402. Record for three-pointers made in a single playoffs, tied with none other than Klay Thompson, his teammate, 98 in a single playoffs. NBA Finals record for most threes in a game. Record for most consecutive regular season games with a made three-pointer, 157 games in a row he made a three-point shot. Record for the most consecutive playoff games made with a three-pointer. First ever unanimous MVP in NBA history. Record for most points scored in an overtime period, that's 17, which I didn't know that until I was putting the show together. Most career three-pointers of all time, obviously. I mean, he just passed Ray Allen a couple months back. 3-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA MVP, 2-time scoring champion, steals leader back in 2016, 50-40-90 club, 7-time All-Star, 4-time NBA All-First Team, 2-time NBA All-Second Team, All-NBA Third Team, Rookie First Team, that is, 3-point champion, Sportsmanship Award, and ranked as one of the top 75 players of all time. So those are majority of Steph Curry's accolades. So, like, if I gave you those accolades by themselves, like, that's gotta be top 10, right? Like, I would say, to answer that question, he's top 10 whether he wins another championship or finals MVP or not. Like, I think that would, kind of be the icing on the cake or, like, the gravy. But, like, in my opinion, and I haven't looked at my top 10 in quite a while, so I'd have to look at it again. But, like, he's top 10 for me. I would put him in that 8 to 10 probably slot there. But Steph Curry, like, one of the greatest players that we've ever seen. I feel like, when it comes to all time, he doesn't get his respect. But, like, yeah, he's top 10 for me, whether he wins finals MVP and another championship or not, because he's already got 3. But, ladies and gentlemen, shorter show than usual, but that is all the show I've got for you today. I mostly recording this a little bit shorter and on Thursday night because I want to watch the Boston Celtics game. So, but I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Like I always say every week, if you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, if you do that. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast goodness, like, share, subscribe, comment, rate the podcast. If you could follow on all the socials at Another Turnover, wherever you get your social media fix as well, I'd appreciate it. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I cannot wait to see what happens with these conference finals games. Should be pretty good. I mean, by the end of next week, well, the conference finals still be going on. I think the first finals game is like June 2nd or something like that. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you next week.
Don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston. Ayy, feeling like Whitney. Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog. Like I'm in the big leagues. Yeah, told him I'ma hit it out of stands. I deserve another 100 bands. I deserve another 100 fans. Told him this was always in the plans. I just did it cause they said I can. Blowing euros when I'm down in France. Labels asking how I build a brand. Told him put a check up in my hands. What got